Module 6. We've covered just about everything you'll need to know to follow my proven level design method, which is laid out in Unit 3. As always, let me encourage you to use all of the resources available to you for help, including the Facebook group, forums, or extra help sessions. In the last module, we covered physical elements, details for the construction of gameplay spaces. Now we're going to learn about surprises, techniques that can help make our level designs unique and interesting. We define surprises as variations on the regular gameplay, included by level designers specifically to create more variety. But why do we need them at all? This is a fair question, considering that we've already talked a lot about content population strategies, etc. The answer is that level designers are human beings. No matter how you might try to follow a particular formula or a set of constraints, eventually you're going to feel like you're bored with them. You're going to want to break out of the structure and create something different, something new. I happen to think that's great. In fact, that's one of the points where invention comes in and where a lot of magic happens in level design. The goal of this module is to show that surprises can sometimes be created by taking a simple idea and flipping it on its head, and to help you find ways to inject more invention into your level designs. Level designers rely on a few common strategies to create surprises in their encounters. The three most common are reduced resources, content surprises, and variant gameplay. Reduced resources, or abilities, is a classic surprise for players. The designer can take away a resource or ability that the player is used to relying on, and present them with a familiar problem, and then require them to come up with new strategies to overcome it. For example, maybe you're in a shooting game, but you have no gun. Or maybe you're in a platform jumping game, but you can't jump. Reduced resources is a common strategy, and can make for some very memorable encounters. Content surprises are encounters that are set up to play differently based on some kind of external factor. For example, an encounter that might look or play differently based on the calendar being on a particular holiday, like Halloween or Christmas. Or changes in content based on the time of day. For example, characters that only appear at night. There can even be variations in encounters based on the difficulty setting of the game. When I was working on the Halo series of games, encounters at the other difficulty levels were carefully tested and balanced, but the legendary battles were as mean as we could make them. Variant gameplay is a kind of catch-all term, meaning that instead of asking the player to do the thing that they usually do in your game, for example, shoot or jump, you're asking them to do something else, say sneak or swim. There was a Hulk game on PlayStation 2 that had an interesting dynamic, where the player would play as the vulnerable Bruce Banner for stealth encounters, followed by third-person combat once he transformed into the rampaging Hulk. A lot of action games create variant gameplay through some form of puzzles. For example, the original Tomb Raider games were known for block-pushing puzzle rooms. And the classic first-person shooter BioShock added in a 2D water pipe puzzle mechanic for hacking interactions in the game. Generally speaking, variant gameplay is riskier to implement than other types of surprises, because it's often easy to prototype using in-game tools. For example, a creative level designer can usually figure out a way to hack in something new and different. Clever hacks can work fine to communicate your ideas, but they usually require a lot more work from every discipline on the team to turn the hack into a polished experience for players. If you believe that your level design screams for adding variant gameplay, make sure that it's something that you discuss with the rest of your team. If you decide that variant gameplay is worth making, then it's best to let that decision filter back into your overall population for the levels in your game. For example, if you decide that you're going to include puzzles, then puzzles should probably become one of your gameplay building blocks, so that they're included in levels throughout the entire game, instead of just being a one-off effort in only one level. Secrets are hidden bits of content that are included explicitly to reward player exploration or knowledge. Secrets are a terrific way to reward dedicated fans with content that most other players will never see. Humor is one of my favorite surprises to see included in games. Pictured here are some very funny bits from games that made me laugh out loud. But humor is a tricky topic. Some folks might not get the intended jokes, or worse, they might find the humor in poor taste or offensive. Still, humor can be a striking type of surprise if it's included judiciously. Boss battles are a type of variant gameplay that features one or more enemies that require special tactics to defeat, and they're a great surprise for players. It's a natural conclusion to think, I want to add more variety to my level. I could just throw in some kind of a boss fight. It's very important to point out that boss battles are much more complex to build than most people realize. They invariably require additional custom art, level geometry, gameplay code, or animations to make them work. Choosing to build bosses at all is a decision to be taken on by the entire team and should be accounted for carefully in your level population strategy. If you decide that you're going to support boss battles, think about how those encounters fit into your population strategy and also into the overall rhythm of your game's encounters. There's a final kind of surprise content that is included specifically to appeal to fans of your game, and that's deliberately breaking the fourth wall. Examples of this kind of content include mentions of previous games from the same developer, notable characters from previous games that you might have made, or even inside jokes or references known only to your fans. The superhero movies made by Marvel Studios have become famous for the content that is hidden after the credits, as well as for the huge number of secrets in the films themselves, all of which are nods to hardcore comic fans. The most visible examples are the cameo appearances by Stan Lee in every Marvel movie. Don't know who he is? Look him up! These kinds of surprises are a direct acknowledgement of your fans, and they eat it up. In this module, we learned about surprises, variations on gameplay that can give your encounters an interesting twist. We discussed reduced resources, content surprises, secrets, breaking the fourth wall, and humor. We also talked about variant gameplay and boss battles. Let's discuss those a little bit more in our conclusions. If you're looking for some variety and a departure from the common gameplay patterns of your game, consider using surprises to add interest to your encounters. But remember that some concepts are so complex that they can involve a great deal more work for a team to bring them up to shippable quality. This is especially true in the case of variant gameplay or boss battles. In cases like those, it's important to make sure that the additional content meets the overall plans for your project. Try to avoid doing a lot of one-off work for a play pattern that won't appear anywhere else in your game. Congratulations on reaching the end of Unit 2. You have covered a lot of ground, and you've learned a great deal about how to approach level design like a pro. In the next unit, we'll go through my step-by-step process for level design, the same process used on mega-hit AAA titles in a variety of genres. See you there!